guys, it's Amanda from The Fiction Fairy, and today I'm here to bring you a review, and my review is on The Truth About Alice, and this is by Jennifer Mathieu. This will be released on June 1st, 2014, and it's going to be published by Roaring Press. First off, this cover was a bit unique for me, a bit strange. I don't know if I love it, I don't know if I hate it, but it definitely ties in to the book once you get finished reading it. It's like, okay, totally get it, but I don't really know if I love it or hate it yet. I loved everything about this book. Thought this was an absolutely terrific book. There's not one thing that I can find that I did not like about this book, which is unusual, but I just really loved it. I don't know if I'm still in kind of like a love hangover from the book or whatnot, but I just couldn't find anything that I did not like about this book. Now, The Truth About Alice is told from 4 different perspectives, and typically that can be pretty hard to convey to a reader, but this was done absolutely perfect. And the story revolves around a girl named Alice, and one particular night, one particular event, and her life just going from almost perfect to just hell, just falling apart. And 4 people have different perspectives on what happened that night and why it turned out the way that it did. And it was just so unique to kind of see the same situation told from 4 different people. Because like anything in life, 4 people can see the same thing and they have different versions of it, and that's exactly what this book is about. It's very vague when you look at it as to what it's about, because you don't want to give away the story too much. But like I said, it's about a girl named Alice, one night, one event, and her whole life changes. And it's from these 4 different people's perspective. If you've ever watched My So-Called Life with Claire Danes, it came out around 1995. It's kind of like that, where it's these situational high school events that happen, but then there's these few main characters that kind of overtalk themselves. They're like describing what happened from each one of their point of views and what's going on inside their own head. And that's how this book was written, and that's the best way for me to describe it. If you've ever watched My So-Called Life, then this book is exactly like My So-Called Life. It's written exactly like that. The 4 points of views just flow perfectly, and it was just a fantastic, fantastic book. The kids in this book are clearly, they're in high school, and high school is a difficult time for anybody, and it's especially difficult if you're popular, and it's especially difficult if you're unpopular. Yeah, because when you're popular, you kind of feel like you need to stay on the top of the top to, you know, stay hanging out with the people you're hanging out with, otherwise you're going to fall off the food chain. And it's hard if you're at the bottom, because you feel like you're always trying to get to the top. You know, what can you do to make those particular girls or guys like you, to make them want to hang out with you and invite you to parties. So high school is just a relatively difficult, confusing time for most people, regardless if you're on the top or if you're on the bottom. And The Truth About Alice really shows that. And The Truth About Alice really shows that when you become a young adult, although you're still in a childlike state, you are becoming an adult, and you have to take on those responsibilities. And one of the few things that you have that you can control, especially when you're in high school, is your reputation. And although there's going to be rumors and lies that may be spread about you, they usually come from some truth that happened. So even just doing one thing that maybe even you regret, that put your reputation out there as kind of like not so great, then every other rumor that follows that, people will believe because of the one thing that you actually did, even if you regret it. And so this book really just drove home the point of, you know, you really have to pay attention to your reputation, the things that you're doing, because, you know, it's kind of like if you cheat on a test. You cheat on a test one time, you regret it, you'll never do it again. Then if somebody tells the teacher you cheated on the test a second or third or a fourth time, she's going to believe that person because one time you made a mistake. And it's really important for young adults to know that, you know, everybody wants to be free, and you're finding yourself and who you are and who you want to be in life, but you really, really, really have to be conscious of the fact that everybody is watching, and your reputation is one of the few things that you can control, and you really want to keep that intact, because things can start to roll downhill very, very quickly for you if you do not. This book was about reputations, this book was about trust, this book was about friends just stabbing you in the back and having their own agendas, and ultimately everybody's just being in this very confused state as a young adult, you know, as a high school student of where do I belong, which side do I choose, what decisions do I make, do I make poor decisions just because that's what the popular crowd is doing? But what if you make those poor decisions and the popular crowd turns on you? Do you hang out with the dork at school? All these things that happen to you while you're in high school. And it was just a really, really great book. Like I said, it's really kind of vague when you're trying to find out what it's about. And once you read the book, you realize why. But it was just so terrific. The end of the book was just, I absolutely loved it. I was just like, oh my gosh, it was just a fantastic, fantastic book. And I believe that this is categorized as a contemporary, and it was just so, so good. Like I said, it has so many just big driving home learning points for young adults and what happens in high school and things like that. And I thought this was just a fantastic book. It was relatively short, it was fast paced, it was quick. Like I said, it played out just like My So-Called Life. So if you like kind of like that reality type thing, that's the way the book was written. So it just flowed very easily from person to person, talking about, you know, situations that had happened and huge events that happen. And sometimes you're going through the book and you're like, how could people even believe this crap? This is so stupid. There's no way somebody could believe these types of rumors or even make up these types of rumors. Like, who are these people? But if you think back to when you were in high school and you think about all the rumors that people were talking about and the ones that they believed, even if they knew they were a lie to begin with, because they had said them so many times and they'd heard them so many times, they actually start to believe them. Then you realize that, wow, this is exactly what happens in high school. This is it. This is high school. High school is not like Clueless. It is not this, you know, everybody had this wonderful time, everybody was beautiful, and, you know, things just flowed and we just loved it here. It was harsh, and it was a jungle, and it was a lot of everyday decisions had to be made that seemed so minute, but to somebody who's in high school, they're huge and they're massive. And, you know, finding friends and keeping friends, and this whole book was just so, so terrific. So I definitely would recommend it. If you guys have not figured it out yet, I did give this book a 5 out of 5 cupcakes. It was fantastic. I could not find one thing that I did not like about this book, which is completely unusual, but I would recommend it when it comes out for you guys to pick it up. If you have an arc of it, I would recommend that you go ahead and pick it up, because this was a quick read, this was a terrific read, and it was just written beautifully. I just absolutely loved it. I just thought it was fantastic. So thanks guys for coming by the Fiction Fairy and watching my review of The Truth About Alice.